I don't think this is a serious offer, and the market doesn't think it's a serious offer. I think this is the first time I've ever seen, I don't know if you've ever seen an offer to take a company private at a 20% premium, and on that day, the market actually takes the stock down because the market looks at this and says, okay, let's look at the words.
Right.
My best and final offer. Deals never get done on the first offer, meaning he isn't serious.
News is out. Elon Musk to acquire Twitter. It will become a private company. It's going to be Twitter's to be acquired by an entity wholly owned by Elon Musk for $54.24. And 20 cents per share in cash. An evaluation valued at approximately $44 billion.
The second thing that I think should happen immediately, anybody involved in the board of Twitter should be fired. It's not really a board. Most of the people involved don't even tweet.
What a wonderful and hopeful day for the future of humanity. It's official, Twitter has accepted Elon Musk's offer to buy the company. Not that they had any choice, as we've discussed in previous videos. There are, of course, many people currently losing their fucking minds. Actually, I'm kidding, they lost them a long time ago, who aren't really big fans of people being able to freely express their thoughts, opinions, and ideas, who are now really troubled by the fact that they will no longer be able to control the narrative. I made the conscious effort today to wait a few hours beyond this announcement, so instead of the breaking news, I could really share some of the reactions, the discussion around this epic, momentous deal. So let's get into it. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos, there's a bunch of ways you can support the channel, access exclusive content and perks. Check out the links in the pinned comment below. If you want to take it to the next level, join thousands of members on Patreon to gain exclusive access to over 100 Q&A videos, loads of exclusive content, exclusive access to my up-to-date 10-year Tesla stock price targets, and even access my Tesla valuation model at the investor support level and above. You can also pick up some Tesla, Elon, and investment theme merch in the merch store, so check out the links in the pinned comment below, and thanks for your support. Elon Musk echoing my own thoughts here. Very, very happy that this deal has been accepted, posting this today. Quote, "Free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy, and Twitter is a digital town square where matters vital to the future of humanity are debated," said Mr. Musk. Quote, "I also want to make Twitter better than ever by enhancing the product with new features, making the algorithms open source to increase trust, defeating the spam bots, and authenticating all humans. Twitter has tremendous potential. I look forward to working with the company and the community of users to unlock it. This is a huge win for democracy and of course free speech." One thing I really quickly want to touch on here, a lot of people for some strange reason, perhaps because they're morons, perhaps because they can't comprehend the English language, and I totally get that, maybe if it's your 12th or 13th language you might not quite understand the idea of verifying human users. Many people seem to be jumping to this strange conclusion that the idea of Twitter, behind the scenes verifying people as a legitimate human being, oh they've proved their identity, they're a real person, versus this account which could be a bot, maybe they're trying to scam me. For some strange reason, a number of people are just jumping to the conclusion after adding their own meaning that this automatically means that Twitter's going to force people to use their real names and publicly identify themselves on the platform. I honestly don't understand how anyone with functioning grey matter jumps to this conclusion. Pretty clear the intent here is just to allow users of the platform to understand this account I'm interacting with has proved they're a real human being. Doesn't matter what the username or avatar is, they've proved they're a real human being behind the scenes. Versus this account, unverified, could be a bot. Maybe they're trying to scam me. I don't know. That's the point. If you happen to be one of the folks that jumped to this conclusion, you've learned a valuable lesson about yourself. You're an idiot. And yes, I mean that, okay? For you to see words have very clearly defined meanings, and then to invent and add additional meaning where there is none, create a narrative to decide it means this, I mean, I don't know what else to say. You have to be an actual moron. And this is the great thing about free speech. I'm free to point out that you're a moron, and you're free to point out that, well, actually the words that mean these things didn't actually mean these things, they mean this instead. We can see here Twitter stock reacted quite well to the news here, getting close to Elon Musk's offer of $54.20 per share. After news broke, Elon Musk also posted this, quote, "I hope that even my worst critics remain on Twitter because that is what free speech means," and I absolutely agree here. Of course, we've already seen a bunch of losers leave the platform in protest. Henrik Fister, geez, that's I don't know about his personal life, so that was a mistake. I meant Henrik Fisker. Long story, there's a bit of tension between he and Elon Musk suddenly disappearing from the platform as soon as this deal was announced. What a little bitch. So here we are over on Bloomberg, and by the way, we are on the Bloomberg homepage just to show how big a deal this is everywhere. All the media outlets talking about this Twitter acquisition by Elon Musk. Front page news, headline, you name it. Quote, "Elon Musk and Twitter, what we know, what we don't about the $44 billion deal," a bunch of other articles to follow, a $21 billion mystery, where will he get the cash for Twitter? Another article, Twitter users looking to defect after Elon Musk. Sorry, I think what they wanted to say is little babies looking to defect after Elon Musk's deal have few options. Twitter CEO says it's business as usual until deal closes. Let's read one of these articles. Quote, Elon Musk and Twitter, what we know, what we don't know about the $44 billion deal. Elon Musk agreed to buy Twitter for $44 billion, ending weeks of speculation after he took a stake in the social media platform this month. The announcement Monday confirmed many of the details that had already been reported or tweeted about the transaction. It also left many unanswered questions. Here's what we know so far, blah, 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 blah. The price. Elon paid way more than Twitter is actually worth because he really cares about free speech. I'm paraphrasing here. He stuck to that promise because, Elon is an honest and ethical man, and when he says he's going to do something, that's because he intends on doing it. Financing. This is a giant leveraged buyout. As Musk revealed last week, he's raised $25.5 billion of fully committed debt and margin loan financing from a dozen banks to back the bid. When the deal is completed, Twitter will become a privately held company. Who will own Twitter? This might sound obvious, but Twitter has agreed to sell itself to an entity wholly owned by Musk. No co-investors were named in the statement, and the wording implies that any that do join will amount to no more than minority stakeholders. Financing. Part 2. Though the announcement reiterated that Musk is, quote, providing an approximately $21 billion equity commitment, there were no further details about where that money would come from. Who will run Twitter? Both Chief Executive Officer Parag... Sorry, let me rephrase this. Both the current CEO, Parag Agrawal, and Chairman Brett Taylor were quoted in the statement, so they're still in their roles for now. Key words. Over the past couple of weeks, Musk has repeatedly tweeted his dissatisfaction with Twitter's board and how the company has been run. And I can't blame him. I mean, IPO about a decade ago, stock basically does nothing for 10 years. Got a point. In my opinion, the entire board's going to get axed. Maybe Jack sticks around. Clearly, the Twitter board is absolutely incompetent, but there's more than meets the eye here. I did the numbers recently. It turns out that I own more in dollar value of Tesla as some random guy on the internet, just some dickhead who invested a little bit of his personal income in Tesla stock. I own more in Tesla stock in dollar amount than more than half of Twitter's board individually. Yeah, that's right. Some dickhead on YouTube who makes videos about Tesla, has a little bit of money in the stock as a retail investor, has more skin in the game when it comes to Tesla than the majority of the people currently on Twitter's board. Yeah, talk about a strong incentive for the company to do well. Not how Twitter will be run. Musk has spoken openly about his plans to make the platform a haven for unfettered speech online. I like how Bloomberg are intentionally avoiding the use of free speech. I'm not sure why. Maybe there's an agenda here. Seems a little bit weird. I mean, Elon's been very clear. The whole point of buying Twitter is to uphold the principles of free speech and complain that the service is too heavy-handed when it comes to moderating user tweets. What's next? The filing. Many of these details should be cleared up in a filing that Twitter is required to make with the SEC, the Short Seller Enrichment Commission, known as a Form 8K. Companies generally have 4 business days to make this type of filing, so we should know more by the end of the week at the latest. And, hilariously, amid all of this, Twitter's first quarter results. Twitter is scheduled to announce its latest earnings on Thursday before the market opens. The company isn't planning to hold a conference call to go into the details of the deal or the financial results, but they'll give investors a glimpse into the state of the business that Musk is buying. The shareholder vote. Musk's deal for Twitter is subject to a shareholder vote. Date for the vote hasn't yet been revealed. I'm giving this about a 98% chance of being approved. Here's a very interesting and rather telling tweet from Twitter's current, I underscore that word, current CEO. Quote, Twitter has a purpose and relevance that impacts the entire world. Deeply proud of our teams and inspired by the work that has never been more important. What a fucking word salad. What even is this? No, hey, I'm looking forward to working with Elon because I'm obviously going to get canned. Hey, looking forward to the next chapter. Or no, this is great, good news. No. It doesn't even mention the word Elon Musk acquisition for it. No. Just blah, 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 blah. He knows he's getting canned. This is so obvious it hurts. Let's just be real here. Parag is definitely not the right leader for this company. And Jeff Bezos couldn't help but chime in. Of course, Jeff isn't a billionaire who owns a media outlet of any kind, so nothing in the game here, no incentives. He's not concerned about, losing his ability to control any narratives whatsoever. Jeff asking this out loud. Interesting question. Did the Chinese government just gain a bit of leverage over the town square? Close to an hour later, Jeff adding to his tweet thread, perhaps his Twitter strategy team, and by the way, I'm not actually joking about this. If you guys haven't looked into the history, learn about it. Anyway, Jeff's team might have said, hey Jeff, it kind of makes you sound like a little bitch and you're about to get absolutely slammed, especially given the number of products that Amazon sells that come from China here. Following up with this, after a considerable delay. My own answer to this question is probably not. The more likely outcome in this regard is complexity in China for Tesla, rather than censorship at Twitter. And Jeff and or his Twitter strategy team weren't done there, following up again after another delay with this one. But we'll see. Musk is extremely good at navigating this kind of complexity. Some guy I've definitely never heard of called David Giant Sachs chiming in. Bezos Post doesn't like getting disintermediated. Might be a valid point there, Mr. Sachs. And now some comments from my second favorite psychedelic taking, allegedly intermittent fasting, meditating weirdo, of course number one being me, Jack Dorsey. Quote, "Musk is the singular solution I trust for Twitter," Dorsey says. This is a guy who's definitely never taken any psychedelics and definitely gives a large fuck what other people think about him. Other examples of humans like this may include people who currently have a mullet. Anyway, moving on. Twitter co-founder Jack Dorsey said the only solution he trusts for the platform is the world's richest man, Elon Musk, after the Tesla chief reached a deal to buy the social media company for roughly $44 billion. Such a tragedy this couldn't have been 42.69 or something like that. But anyway, Dorsey, who took the company public in 2013, said Twitter has been, quote, owned by Wall Street and that taking it private was the correct final step. Quote, "Twitter as a company has always been my sole issue and my biggest regret." I mean, think about that. Founder of Twitter describing the company, right, as his biggest regret. Solving the problem of it being a company, however, Elon is a singular solution I trust, he said. Jack tweeting today, "I love Twitter. Twitter is the closest thing we have to a global consciousness." One, of course, that currently isn't allowed to think certain things, so there's some dark areas in that consciousness, but Jack has a point. "The idea and service is all that matters to me, and I will do whatever it takes to protect both. Taking it back from Wall Street is the correct first step. I'm so happy Twitter will continue to serve the public conversation around the world and into the stars." And now I want to share a few reactions within the mainstream finance media. Before that, however, big shout out to Dave Lee on Investing, who absolutely hit it out of the fucking park. I need to play this clip. Great video today, Dave. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Elon has decided he would do what he could to preserve freedom and democracy. See, Elon's an early thinker, and most people won't think democracy is in grave danger right now. But not a lot of people in positions of power have been standing up for free speech and sounding the alarm. So we really could be in a monumental crisis that just isn't recognized by a lot of people.
We most certainly are in a monumental crisis, and it certainly isn't recognized by most people, and that's why this is so incredibly important. You either get it or you don't, and that's literally the point. Play along at home with me for a moment. Just hypothetically speaking, just imagine that humanity is on board a metaphorical Titanic headed directly toward an iceberg. Yet, captain of the ship doesn't see it coming. Hardly anybody sees it coming. People are just having fun, dancing, hanging out, chatting, playing games, whatever the they want to do, with no idea of the impending danger looming ahead. This is the situation we are currently in as it relates to free speech. 5 or 6 years ago, I would have thought I sounded like an absolutely insane conspiracy theorist. But in the intervening half decade, I've actually been paying attention. My eyes and ears have been open and receptive, and I've been noticing a few things that are deeply, deeply troubling. I've been over this a million times before. I'm not going to rehash the same thoughts. The point is, Dave's right. Elon is an early thinker. Elon can not only see the iceberg, but realize the implications of colliding with it. Most people, however, are completely oblivious, and I'm so incredibly thankful that Elon Musk not only has the resources, but the ability to recognize the problem and the courage to do something about it. And now, some of the media reactions.
News is out. Elon Musk to acquire Twitter. It will become a private company. It's going to be Twitter's to be acquired by an entity wholly owned by Elon Musk for $54.24. And 20 cents per share in cash. An evaluation valued at approximately $44 billion. This is the amount that was originally proposed by Musk. So worth noting that as he had originally said, he was not open to negotiation there. I'm going to continue to dig into this. Oh, here we have more here. So just for a little bit more here, they say that Twitter stockholders will receive that $54.20 in cash for each share of common stock. And that represents a 38% premium to Twitter's closing price on April 1st. That was the last trading day before Musk disclosed his 9% stake in the company. There's a statement here from Brett Taylor, who's Twitter's independent board chair, and this is it. He says, quote, "The Twitter board conducted a thoughtful and comprehensive process to assess Elon's proposal with a deliberate focus on value, certainty, and financing. The proposed transaction will deliver a substantial cash premium, and we believe it is the best path forward for Twitter's stockholders." Then Parag Agrawal, who is Twitter's CEO, who is not very well known by the investment community, has not done an interview with us here on CNBC. He says, quote, "Twitter has a purpose and relevance that impacts the entire world. Deeply proud of our teams, etc." And then I just want to mention what Musk says in this press release. And this goes back to why he wanted to buy Twitter. He says, quote, "Free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy, and Twitter is the digital town square where matters vital to the future of humanity are debated." He says, I want to make Twitter better than ever by enhancing the product with new features, making the algorithms open source to increase trust, defeating the spam bots and authenticating all humans. He says Twitter has tremendous potential. I look forward to working with the company and the community of users to unlock it. So here it is, the news that we've been anticipating all day today. And I would say, guys, many people were very surprised that this would happen as quickly as it did. No other buyers came in, and the board accepted Elon Musk's offer at that original offer price.
Julia, just one quick observation to point out here is that Twitter shares is still about $3 below the deal price. So the market is still baking in some probability that the deal doesn't get done. Yes.
So just going into some of the terms and financing, they say that the transaction has been unanimously approved by the board. It is expected to close in 2022, subject to the approval of Twitter stockholders. And then they talk about the debt and financing.
The second thing that I think should happen immediately, anybody involved in the board of Twitter should be fired. It's not really a board. Most of the people involved don't even tweet. I think there should be some sort of advisory panel engaged. People that are power users, who have big followings, who are seen as good stewards of their followership, so to speak. People like Mark Cuban should be brought in. People that, have business experience but also love the product and use it effectively. I don't know if that's 8 people, 25 people, whatever it is. You've got to get the people who create all the content to be part of a governing body of some sort, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that. And then the third thing, I think open up the algorithms and let us see how the sausage is made in terms of what content is being moderated, why is it being moderated, and I'm not saying that we'll all like the results, but it's democratic in that if they reopen the spigot, so to speak, and the Nazis come back, then you can leave, and a lot of people will leave. If, however, they reopen it to freedom of speech, and you don't like everything you see there, but you have a way to tailor your experience so that you can limit your exposure to that, I think the platform will be okay. So I'm trying to be optimistic about it. I don't think that anyone should look at this and say, oh no, the world's coming to an end. This is the only human being in the world that could have done this deal and would have done this deal at this price. And he claims it's not about the money. He claims that some element of why he's doing this is because he thinks it's important for freedom of speech. Let's take that at face value. This was the only way you were getting $54.20 for the stock right now.
If you're a shareholder today, are you happy with this price? Are you surprised that the first offer was, in fact, the best and final?
Oh, I think you're popping the champagne if you're a Twitter shareholder, because without Musk, you're looking at a low $30 stock. And it just shows, as you talked about, they were looking for white knights. The poison pill gave them time. No PEs looked at this. And that's why ultimately at the altar, they had to come and walk it down with Musk. And I think for shareholders, I'll call it a Cinderella ending to what could have been some dark days, especially if this happened on Thursday night.
Why no white knight, though? As I asked the two gentlemen who were with me prior, why do all these other parties look at this and say, no, thank you, give them the Heisman and walk away?
It's a disaster private equity candidate because of the cash flow, because of the lack of a subscription model. The challenges are there. And as Josh said, that's why Musk knew in this game of high-stakes poker, he was really the only one that could get this done. They obviously went out and tried to get that white knight. But once he detailed the financing late last week, that's where, in my opinion, the clock struck 12 for the board. They need to come ultimately to a deal with Musk. And obviously that's what we saw today. This is when you look at Twitter, and it's well documented, it's a head scratcher just wanting to own Twitter. That's why no one else that looked at it, they wanted to buy it. It's going to be Herculean-like challenges ahead. And, look, if you look at Musk's successes, it's been PayPal, it's been Tesla, it's been SpaceX. But no doubt, this is really one that, as we've talked about, I think from an investor perspective, trading in your Tesla for Twitter shares is, we'll call it caviar for, $1 or $2 slice of pizza.
Elon Musk bought Twitter today. That means that Twitter henceforth will be privately held. Elon Musk will determine what is allowed on the platform. Now, why is this significant? Not because it signals the sudden arrival of oligarchy, as you're hearing now. It's too late for that. Oligarchy is already here. Every major tech company is already controlled by billionaires. That's been the case for a long time. So this is nothing new. The reason today's sale of Twitter is big news, the reason it could turn out to be a pivot point in our history, is that Elon Musk does not agree with the rest of the billionaires in the tech business. Unlike the leaders of Facebook, Google, Apple, Amazon, Elon Musk believes in free speech. He thinks everyone should be allowed to talk, including people who disagree with him. I hope that even my worst critics remain on Twitter, Musk wrote today on his new platform, because that is what free speech means. Now that sounds like an entirely American sentiment, but in this atmosphere that is a revolutionary posture. Of the 5 companies that control the flow of virtually all information that is consumed by the citizens of this country, Twitter is by far the smallest of the group. But it doesn't matter. One platform going rogue is enough to break the monopoly. That means you now have real options for expressing yourself. Going forward, if you disagree with the administration's latest directive, you get to say so out loud to an audience. So they're up there every day from the podium, the biggest megaphone in the world, commanding you to hate this or that group, lecturing you about who's good and who's evil, as if you're a child and have no right to decide for yourself these things, the basic things. But before today, you didn't have a right to express your disagreement in public. If you had an opposing opinion, or even more dangerous than that, if you had countervailing facts that undermine their storyline, the tech companies would shut you down immediately. It happened to us. It happened to a lot of people, most of whom you've never heard of. Never hearing about those people was the whole point of shutting them down. But that's over. After today, you'll be able to post your dissent in a place where other people might have a reasonable chance of seeing it. In other words, you will have a chance to change other people's minds, just like the White House does every day. So you just became a little more powerful. The people already in charge just became a little less powerful. It's that simple, and it's that profound. And the irony is, if you'd like to save democracy, you are forced to look outside the democratic system in order to do it. At this point, you have no choice but to put your hopes in the good intentions of an eccentric billionaire. There's no other option because no one else is coming to the rescue. So in the case of Elon Musk, we will see how this turns out. But for now, Musk's purchase of Twitter is the single biggest political development since Donald Trump's election in 2016. It is certainly the most threatening challenge to the corrupt and incompetent leadership of this country. Now, that may not be obvious to everyone yet, but the people in charge certainly understand it. Other people get to talk too. And that realization is crushing to them. It's the one thing they fear. And that tells you everything about why those people should never be near power. People who want a monopoly on speech and thought hate Elon Musk. Not because he's a racist. He's not. But because they can't control him. They hate him because he persists in saying things like this.
Well, I think it's very important for there to be an inclusive arena for free speech. My strong intuitive sense is that having a public platform that is maximally trusted and broadly inclusive is extremely important to the future of civilization.
But you've described yourself.
I don't care about the economics at all.
So free speech is extremely important to civilization. Are you triggered by that? Are you triggered by that? Are you triggered by that? It's often hard to know who's on what side. So much lying. Who are the good guys and who are the bad guys? Well, here's a very clear, simple, and unerring test. Who are the tyrants? They're anyone who is bothered by the idea that other people might get to talk. That is an unfailing test. It's 100% accurate. Would you allow people who disagree with you to talk? If you wouldn't, you are a tyrant. And tonight, the tyrants are grieving. In Congress, Democrats made a last-ditch bid to use their power to intimidate Elon Musk into backing off. Congresswoman Catherine Clark of Connecticut wrote this, quote, "If they can afford to buy Twitter, they can afford to pay their fair share in taxes. Retweet if you're ready to support Joe Biden's billionaire minimum income tax." Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman wrote this, "If you can buy a major social media platform, you can pay your fair share in taxes. Tax the rich." Haven't heard that from the left in a while. Why are they so mad? Because their monopoly on speech and information, the ability to control what you believe, has been broken. So once again, they're resorting to force to get you to shut up. This is not an attack on Elon Musk. They're not going to tax him into poverty. He's the world's richest man. This is an attack on you and your right to speak freely, to express your conscience in public. But for once, it's not working. And the media are infuriated. They're profoundly threatened by a free internet. And so they're panicked. Watch.
Elon Musk is the new power at the social media giant, and he is foaming the runways for the return of the trolls.
This is happening in the background of Elon Musk saying, basically, I want to buy Twitter so I can open it up and turn it into Gab and let Donald Trump back. So there are real consequences to allowing anybody to run these internet sites and say whatever it is they want.
And Elon Musk is the fox coming into the henhouse, and it is shameful that Twitter, which has a fiduciary obligation, I would think, to protect people who actually use it, the millions of people who actually use it. Did they ask a single woman? A single woman? Was a single woman consulted in this? Was a single person of color who just uses Twitter, who made the mistake of using Twitter and needs it for their job?
So Elon Musk is a threat to the weak, say the most privileged and powerful people in our society. Really? Are they really standing up for the weak? No. The weak are the people who aren't allowed to say what they really think. Those are the weak. And what you just saw are the strong demanding the silence of the weak. Everyone's kind of figured this out, except the people demanding it. They're so up their own butts that you just heard them say that Twitter's a fiduciary duty to ignore its shareholders, block the deal, and continues Twitter's decline in the market. It doesn't even make any sense. And because it doesn't, you can be certain you are watching a meltdown. And of course, at the bottom of the meltdown is always the same charge. He's a racist. Wait for the New York Times piece telling you Elon Musk is a racist.
I think that may be the very first clip I've ever seen of Tucker Carlson in which I didn't disagree with a single thing he said. Of course, the great thing is that if I did happen to disagree, I would be free to express my thoughts and opinions about why Tucker Carlson is an idiot, but in this particular case, he's absolutely nailed it. The news today that Twitter has accepted Elon's offer to buy the entire company, take it private, and install the principle of free speech is incredibly positive, and I'm very hopeful for the future of humanity. As I said earlier, you either get it or you don't. Some final food for thought. The way people react to this acquisition by Elon Musk will tell you everything you need to know about their own stance, not only on free speech, but whether or not they're a threat to or an advocate of democracy. By the way, I really seriously mean this. There are people out there who believe that human beings should be able to freely express their thoughts and opinions and ideas. And by the way, I know there's a few absolute morons in the comments. What about spam bots? Spamming is not expressing a thought, an opinion, or idea. There's a commercial interest there. Yelling fire in a crowded theater is not a thought, an opinion, or an idea either. It's called being a It's also illegal. Then there are those people who don't believe that other human beings should be free to express their thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These people, in my opinion, are dangerously stupid morons and an enormous threat to democracy. Elon has really taken one for the team here, fighting for freedom of speech. He's dropped about $45 billion toward the cause, and is going to face a tsunami of attacks on his character, lots of fake news, hit pieces, and so on. Elon strongly believes in upholding the principle of free speech, and is doing something about it. That's called courage, and it should be commended. Thanks, Elon. And finally, on the topic of free speech, head over to Patreon. You can join with the card in the corner or the link at the pinned comment and gain access to well over 100 exclusive videos on just about every topic you can imagine, including loads of stuff that I'm literally not allowed to discuss on YouTube because YouTube isn't a big fan of people freely expressing their thoughts, opinions, and ideas, at least certain of those thoughts, opinions, and ideas. I wish I was kidding. See you over there. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan. This is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos, there's a bunch of ways you can support the channel, access exclusive content and perks, and get some free stocks and crypto. Check out the links in the pinned comment below. You can also pick up some Tesla, Elon, and investment themed merch in the merch store. If you want to take it to the next level, join thousands of members on Patreon to gain exclusive access to over 100 Q&A videos, loads of exclusive content, exclusive access to my up-to-date 10-year Tesla stock price targets, and even access my Tesla valuation model at the investor support level and above. So check out the links in the pinned comment below, and thanks for your support. And if you're still watching, you're awesome. I read every single comment on this channel, and I really appreciate your feedback. So if you've got any thoughts on today's video, questions, comments, or suggestions for a new video, let me know in the comments below. Check the cards on screen now to browse the merch store, join Patreon, or watch the next video.